everybody, and welcome to the MPF podcast. I'm your host, Brad Nordstrom, owner-operator of Maximum Performance and Fitness here in West Fargo, North Dakota.
And I'm Levi Nordstrom, college student majoring in communications at NDSU. And today we're going to be discussing common fitness myths that need to die in 2025.
Die in 2025. This is an interesting and honestly a little bit controversial topic, which should make for a fun podcast.
So I have kind of a segment that we're going to do, real or fake. Basically took 10 ideas off the internet. I'm curious to get your reaction and thoughts. And we're going to start right away with carbs make you fat.
Oh boy, everybody loves carbs. Who doesn't like a piece of pizza here and there? Now, this is interesting because everybody's different. And if we're going to really dig deep into this, one of the courses I went to, it's probably 20 years ago already, was by the late Charles Poliquin. It was called Biosignature Modulation. And the one thing that was pretty cool with this concept that he came up with is when we were doing skin fold measurements, body fat measurements, there's one site that's kind of your lie detector test. It's under the shoulder blade. It's called the subscapular measurement. And typically a person that carries a higher amount of back fat does not process carbohydrates as well as somebody that's leaner with their upper back. So basically what that means is that person might look at that plate of spaghetti and gain fat, where other people will be able to eat plenty of carbs and have zero problems storing it. They don't store it as fat. Their body needs that, which is pretty cool. So it's a kind of a loaded question. Do carbs make you fat? Yes and no, but it also depends on activity level. The more active somebody is, as long as, once again, everything, it's not as simple as just, hey, let's take a measurement at subscap. It actually is a ratio between that and your tricep measurement. But it's pretty cool to see, and you can always tell too, like if we do different challenges, fat loss challenges, those people that tend to have a lower ratio of that upper back, that subscapular measurement, a lot of times are ones that are probably going to be higher up on the results board just because their body utilizes carbohydrates so much better, more efficiently. So do carbs make you fat? No, not necessarily. But some people do, unfortunately, aren't able to metabolize it as well as others. And yeah, carbs aren't all the same. I mean, you take 100 grams of broccoli versus 100 grams of Skittles, it's totally a different animal and how your body's going to store it. So it's an interesting concept with this biosignature modulation, but you can definitely, some people have to watch it more than others.
That's an interesting answer. I thought it would be pretty simple. I thought it'd be like carbs don't make you fat, but eating all these carbs and then not really utilizing them, I feel like, that's where my mind goes. I'm kind of like the average person perspective is kind of what I like to think of this, is I want to bring in the mindset of people that are potentially watching this video that don't know and kind of bring those questions to more of a expert or just kind of you have an advanced understanding of this stuff. So that's kind of why I'm here and the whole purpose of this. And of course, make sure you leave your comments below if you have any questions, and maybe we even have a segment in the future podcast answering questions from the listeners.
Oh, for sure.
Now, on to the next one. You have to be sore for it to be a good workout.
That's more of a false statement. It's not necessarily true, especially for those people that are just starting out. I think you really want to work into this slowly. If you would say you haven't worked out in 5 years, and that's a common occurrence here at the gym, you'll get somebody in that life gets in the way. You have kids and you're busy with running them around to their activities, and you just don't take the time for yourself, and you want to start working out. Well, you've got to slowly work into it. Eventually, if you want to get results, you need to stress the body to grow, to make gains and so forth. So do you have to be sore to have a good workout? No. And then the other aspect of it too is some of the in-season training activities with athletes. Your main focus is your sport during the in-season, but you also need to stay strong and you need to stay explosive and powerful. So with that being said, if you are coaching that individual in the weight room, you don't want to get them extremely sore. Otherwise, then they can't perform in their sport. So that one there is kind of walking a tightrope, so to speak, on when you're training that athlete. So answer is no, not necessarily.
When I think of it, I think of like shin splints.
Oh.
That's very painful and something that I feel like a lot of runners deal with. How do you kind of avoid shin splints in a way?
Oh, smokes. I mean, shin splints are interesting. I mean, I kind of think back to, like, myself personally, last fall, a group of us decided we're going to do a Spartan Beast, which is a half marathon and 30 obstacles. And to be honest with you, I am not a distance runner. So I was running way more than I ever had. And I honestly had zero problem with shin splints. I didn't feel them. Now, with that being said, I mean, obviously I train a lot. Pretty much every day I'm doing something, fairly intense usually. And so I was acclimatized, so to speak, with activity. I think the biggest thing with some people that get these shin splints is they start out way too long, way too fast, way too hard, and they don't recover. So that's one issue with shin splints. Another one is it could be ankle mobility, tight hamstrings, tight calves. So you need to work on calf flexibility, the soleus muscle. I mean, there's some different stretches that you can do for that. And then it could be hip issues. It's typically not just, oh, my shins hurt. Well, there's an underlying issue somewhere else, and you got to figure out what that is. And that's what makes my job fun. So that's also one of those questions that, where is that? And I think honestly, if you were just to break it down to one thing, typically it's the recovery process is not done properly, and you're way too aggressive to start. And that's when you typically will get shin sprints.
On to the next topic. Lifting makes women bulky.
What's called that one false. Next time you're on the interwebs, which pretty much everybody is every day, search up a 5-pound picture of fat and then a 5-pound picture of muscle. Notice how that 5 pounds of fat is big and bulky and just kind of looks disgusting. And then you see that 5 pounds of fat and it's just nice and long and lean. That's really what it is. So I think that, we want to gain muscle, and anybody that's been in the weight room, I've been in it for 40 years, it's not easy. It is not easy to add muscle. And there's obviously some protocols to get it maybe a little bit faster, but I could probably count on one hand over 30 years of being in this business of women that put on muscle fast. It just doesn't typically happen. They don't have the hormones per se to put that muscle on quickly. So definitely doesn't make it bulky. When you add that muscle, what happens is it increases your metabolism, which increases the amount of calories that your body burns, which in turn means that it should make it easier to drop fat weight if you have more muscle, as long as you're working on your nutrition.
And now, on to the next topic, and I'm very curious about this answer. More sweat equals more fat loss.
That would be false. With that being said, with your air temperature, for example, this week's been pretty hot. So we're going through our melt workouts here in the gym, and your body is under stress more when it's hot than it is when it's cold. With the extent, I mean, obviously, unless it's extremely cold, which you're typically not working out in extreme cold. But if it's extreme hot, a lot of times we are working out or doing more physical activity. Your body actually burns more calories, which in turn, you're potentially, especially depending on what the workout was, if it was more of a HIIT style or high intensity interval training, you are going to expend more calories later on. It's called exercise post-oxygen consumption. More actually when it is hot, just because of the stresses your body's under. Now, with that being said, depending on your conditioning level, you might not be able to work as hard if it's too hot. So if it's cooler in the facility, you're going to be able to work harder, which in turn probably would create that same caloric expenditure. So I would call it false just because not everybody can still train hard when it's hot. I've seen it multiple times where it might be more mentally than physically, but they just shut down and just cannot push. But if you were to decrease that temperature 20 degrees, then you're like, oh, wow, this person's really giving it.
So it's almost like it balances out.
Balances out. Maybe not for everybody. Some people know, and they're mentally tougher where they can just friggin' go when it's cold, when it's hot. But for the majority of the people, it basically will balance out.
Now, on to the next one. Still in the line of fat, you can target fat loss / spot reduction.
Well, this one would be extremely controversial. You can search it and you'll see, oh yeah, we'll come over to our facility. We can drop your belly fat, or we can drop this and drop that. I would say it's not necessarily true or false. This kind of goes back to that biosignature modulation thing again. And for example, the reason I say that it's not necessarily false is there are some supplement protocols that you can do. If you kind of, I've been in this business for 30 years, and I've seen a lot of body types. You'll see body types that come in and they carry typically a little bit more fat in their lower body and their hips and their legs. That's more of a hormonal issue. So you could actually work on potentially spot reducing based on some supplement protocols. I have had mixed results with it. So with that being said, typically you cannot spot reduce. Your body is going to equally take fat from the cells throughout your system. You may notice it more in your belly. Like, holy smokes, my belly fat's dropped. A lot of us are trying to drop belly fat when we're going to a gym. You may notice it faster in the belly because there is greater fat storage there. So that would make more sense to, holy smokes, I've dropped more belly fat than I thought it would. Faster per se, just because you're typically carrying more there. And they don't have as much in your fat cells and your triceps and whatnot. So I would say for the most part, spot reduction is not a thing, but there are some potential areas where it could work.
Now, this is a very interesting topic to me, and I am very curious to hear the answer to the next question. You need to take a pre-workout or protein powder to get results.
No, but definitely helps speed up the process. So, for example, and this one here we'll have to probably do kind of in its own later on, but a pre-workout. So I think the biggest thing is you want to stay away from the high caffeine, high sugar ones, because you're going to get a crash. I mean, you're going to be jacked up and ready to go, but 30 minutes to an hour later, you're just going to crash and be ready for a nap. So with that being said, what you'd want to focus on more is creatine, amino acids, and whey protein. And creatine is one of those, it's the most studied supplement ever. And there is more and more research coming out, and it's not just performance, it's mental health, it's heart health. It's unbelievable the amount of research they're doing with creatine, and this one, like I said, let's expand on it later on, but I think that starting out with creatine, looking into amino acids are huge. I've used anything from as simple as just branched chain amino acids. Now the supplement line that I carry here, Nutridyne, has a just amino acid blend that you would mix in your drink and drink that about a half hour before you train, or you can even drink it while you train. It just helps you train longer or harder as you go. And then do the protein post-workout. Some people would put a little bit of extra creatine in that post-workout. So do you need to? No, it just really does help to speed up results and getting to where you want to go.
Yeah, I can guarantee you, if you're looking to bulk up for sports, creatine, amino-based pills, and protein powder,
it works.
It goes hand in hand very well together, and you'll be ready to hit the gridiron or
for sure
any sport. Now, on to the next topic. Cardio is the best way to lose weight.
Not necessarily. I think it's in there. It's important to do it, but it needs to be a combination of cardiovascular training, strength training, and then proper nutrition. And this is another one I think that we could elaborate on in the future. And like I said, we're just focusing on the myths. But when you're doing your cardio, you need to have more than one avenue of doing it per se. So for example, here at MPF, when we're doing our melt workouts, we do a HIIT style, which is high intensity interval training, but we use multiple interval times. Your body is going to get accustomed to, if you just do a minute every time, your body's going to get accustomed to it, and then it just doesn't, mentally it just makes it harder to train harder, so to speak. So like for example, today we did 20-second intervals, Tabata is what they're called. And we would do 7 in a row with 10 seconds rest at your station, and then you move to the next one. Now, if you really give it, that is a butt-kicking workout. And once again, why we do the HIIT style is that we're trying to have that afterburn, so to speak. And some days we'll do 4-minute intervals. Those are a butt kicker, and it's a mental challenge there too. We might do 1 minute, we might do 90 seconds, we might do 100 seconds. You need to vary it. With that being said, too, getting out and walking at a pretty brisk pace and spending 30 minutes walking, that's also important as well. So that is good. And then, like I said, you need to add the strength training. And I think that anybody that just goes out and does just straight cardio, eventually you're going to start losing muscle mass. And that is going to be a problem. You need to, at minimum, maintain that muscle mass, if not add a little bit, if you're trying to lose fat weight.
Going back to what you said earlier, doesn't adding on muscle help you burn calories faster?
Absolutely.
So that means let's not just stick to a simple cardio plan every week. Let's mix it up a little bit, add in some strength training, and that will, of course, help you lose weight faster or just more consistently. On to the next topic, no pain, no gain.
That is false. And here's the reason. When I'm thinking pain, basically that is a signal that something's not right. So for example, bench press. And let's say you're bench pressing and the shoulder is signaling, wow, my shoulder is zinging when I touch my chest and I press up. Your gains are going to be minimal just because your body, your mind is going to shut you down. You just physically can't do it. So you've got to figure out where that problem is, fix the problem, and then get back to your training. So definitely the no pain, no gain is not, it's a myth. It's a myth that needs to die. This has nothing to do with going out and just feeling that exhaustion pain. I mean, yeah, sure, if you're going out and running and you're trying to break a record, your record or whatever kind of record it is, yeah, you might have to gut through it to get that. But with that being said, typically that pain is a signal of something is wrong and you need to fix it, otherwise to maximize your gains. You're going to be minimizing it with that pain.
It makes me think of swelling. Swelling is a sign typically that something's wrong in your body. It's always important to make sure you watch your body because your body will tell you what's wrong.
You listen to what your body is telling you, and then find somebody to help you get through it. And I think that that's a big problem. You ever had any swelling or anything? You ever had any issues back in your training days?
Well, with my rehab for physical therapy, it would swell up.
You had a couple of surgeries.
Yep, couple. On to the second to last topic. You must train every day or you are lazy.
Well, that's false. With that being said, you want to train. And when I say train, I mean, that means it means work hard. If you're going to go train, that means you're going to give it what you got. You need to train most days of the week. So we got 7 days in a week, so we should be training 4 days a week. And on the other days, you want to be active. Now, that doesn't mean you need to go out and run 6 miles. That means, hey, you know what? I'm going to go walk 30 minutes today.
Take the dog on a walk.
Take the dogs for a walk. Go out and play catch with your kids with a football, run around a little bit, throw some basketball, shoot some hoops. I think that's the big thing is you want to be active every day. But as far as training and really training hard, your body does need time to recover. And everybody's different. Some people need longer recovery times. Some people don't need as long a recovery time, and they can train hard all the time. I mean, those are what I would call freaks. And there are a few out there that tend, I mean, you just can't break them. And to be honest with you, most of it is mentally. They are just extremely mentally tough, and their body just keeps going. But you want to train most days of the week and then be active on the other days.
I like the point where even on your off days, you still want to stay active. Don't be sitting up on the couch eating chips all day.
Well, that's huge. I mean, especially like if we're talking adults or an athlete. If you're an athlete, I mean, sure, there are some off days, but you still need to do something. That helps with the recovery.
And now on to the last topic. Fitness is only about aesthetics.
Well, that is false. To be honest with you, this is something that I would say probably 10-ish years ago I started to pay more attention to, is the mental health aspect of fitness. Yeah, sure, you want to do the activities, to get the glamour muscles ready, the beach muscles, so forth. But the mental component of it is so forgotten about. It's unbelievable. I mean, even if you only have 15 minutes, you're like, okay, I'm going to do 15 minutes of, could be a brisk walk, or I'm going to do push-ups and squats, air squats, push-ups, and an ab exercise and some jumping jacks. You would not believe how much better mentally you feel. Because if you take a look at life is full of stress. Stresses are all around us. And you want to minimize that stress. And how do you do that, to be honest with you, is with exercise. And I wish that people would spend more time, especially like maybe some of the researchers and so forth, just explaining how important exercise is for mental health. I think that we could definitely work on decreasing a lot of mental health issues in our world if we got people more active instead of just pushing the easy button. Why does everything have to be so easy? Well, it doesn't, because you need to challenge your body. We're not built for everything to be easy. So that is definitely false. And this could be a longer discussion as far as, recovering from injury to, I've got neck and shoulder pain. How do I solve that? Well, it could be a number of things. It could be the lower traps aren't working, and you work on one simple exercise, and wow, I don't feel as stressed up in my shoulders anymore. So it is definitely not all about it. I think that's what everybody thinks it is, but I think to me, it's the mental health one that needs to be pushed a little bit more.
It also brings self-confidence.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think, of course, self-confidence is one of the major things in life. Is it helps you talking to people, especially new people that you've never met before. And, of course, that only helps you in the long run. That is all we have. Do you have any other points you want to mention before we get going here?
Well, this was fun. I think that there's a lot of those questions that we can definitely elaborate on and really shed some light on some of these, I don't know if you call them myths or just concepts that are out there. That's the cool thing about this field that I'm in, is there's no black and white. It's a lot of gray, and it's our job to dig through it and determine what is, how we got our clients coming in, what is going to get them their results faster, more efficiently, because everybody's busy, everybody's got jobs and so forth and stuff going on. How can I do this with the most efficient way? And then once we show them that, then you have to be consistent with that. And we'll talk about that one as well in the future, just that consistency, taking one pill for 3 days, whether your pre-workouts for 3 days and you forget about it for 6 and you dabble here and there. That's not going to work. You've got to stay consistent with it every day.
Along with that potential video idea, in the future we've got all sorts of topics. You have your trending fitness topics, trending specific topics, even motivation type stuff. Maybe we even talk about diets, something that's very intriguing to me. And fasting, of course, is a big thing around the world. But with that being said, we'll be back next Sunday, 5 p.m. every week. And throughout the week, we'll be posting smaller videos if you're more into that stuff. So don't waste another year following bad advice. Instead, follow the MPF podcast. Of course, here to give you good fitness advice every week on Sundays. Make sure you like this video if you enjoyed. Put a comment below of any questions you have and we'll answer them. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and make sure you don't miss out on any future videos. See you guys in the next one.